All right, well, welcome to the final episode of Speculative Tolkienism.
The Fellowship of the Ring.
This is the last episode of the Fellowship of the Ring exploration that we've been doing for 1 year.
What did Churchill say? We have not come to the beginning, or nor have we reached the end, but we've reached the end of the beginning.
We're at the end of the beginning. So we fully intend to continue this on into the Two Towers and the Return of the King, if there seems to be some demand from our millions of fans. So we still have the very end of the chapter of the Breaking of the Fellowship, which we are going to do now for you. So last week we ended on the spat between Boromir and Frodo.
In last week's episode, Boromir showed his ass.
Flipped his lid. Just went off on crazy. Frodo. And so today we pick up where Frodo runs away and goes to Aemon Law.
Right.
I'm sorry, Aemon Hen.
Aemon Hen.
See,
yeah,
that was I was trying to that was a test. See if you picked up.
Right. Yeah. It was tested. See if I was actually paying attention.
Come on. He goes to the seat of seeing on Aemon Hen. Cool.
What did you think about the seat of seeing?
Here's something that I found intriguing. Tolkien never, it's quite widely known that Tolkien never really features Sauron. Sauron never really appears in the flesh in the story. You never, like, scene 23, in his chamber in the top tower of Barad-dûr, Sauron schemed his hands together maliciously.
From the distance, you hear a little trickle coming out of the restroom.
You hear a trickle. And in the back of the chamber, filled with cobwebs, one of his servants said, "We will turn beans into peas, master."
Oh, Robert.
But that's what I would think it would be like. It would be like a Dark Lord from Time Bandits.
Yeah.
So to save us from that, the only times that Sauron really appears in the novel are in these moments of sight beyond sight, these visions that you get in the Mirror of Galadriel. You get them in the Seat of Seeing on Aemon Hen. You get them in the Palantir.
But you know what, though?
Make of that?
What I make of that is the fact that, like Tolkien illustrated the power of the ring in this scene too, because there's no way that where Frodo was sitting that he could see everything that he actually saw, and without the aid of the ring. I mean, it felt like he's looking and everything's like 20 miles away. Like he can see, like,
do you think that's a good question? Do you think, because this is the Seat of Seeing, so it already has that property. Do you think it was the ring that was giving him that sight, or was it the seat? It was called the Seat of Seeing. That's why I always thought it had a property, because it was called the Seat of Seeing, and like any cliff or rock or high point could be a Seat of Seeing, but this was the Seat of Seeing.
Right, but he says, I believe, and I think numerous people agree with me, that Christopher Tolkien correctly deduces that his father implied that Frodo's vision was a result of both the hill's power and the ring's power. So the powers came from the ring and from the hill itself. Like there's some kind of but was it the hill? Was it the seat?
I mean, it kind of doesn't really matter in terms of the story. It doesn't matter. And I think Tolkien, he clearly left it a little bit intentionally vague, because if he didn't want to leave it vague, he would have stated it more explicitly. But I think there's enough there that might make it feel like he's implying that seat had a bit of a magic property on its own, and then probably accentuated because of Frodo's situation and having the ring.
Right. Frodo was up there, like, seeing things more clearly, like the orcs gathering and the all the smoke outside of Lothlorien, and
so what do you think that did for the story, being able to see all those things?
Well, what I think this did with the story was it illustrated what kind of a desperate situation that the Middle Earth was in at the time. You know,
Right.
this it really added to like the whole. I mean, considering this is like the cliffhanger they're leaving it on kind of a cliffhanger, right?
Right.
Um, like it's like, oh damn, the things are really in dire straits.
I mean, it's
Like it,
really just a really good trailer for the next two books that are to
yeah,
come.
yeah,
Two Towers and Return of the King. Like, especially it gets people to want to read on. Like, because again, just like you couldn't really see Sauron, you know, except through these means, these kind of telekinetic or whatever means by like the Mirror of Galadriel, the Palantir, and here on the Seat of Seeing. Tolkien, you can't really clearly, he hasn't really been able to look forward into the future and say, okay, in the future you will have Minas Tirith and all these gathering armies and the
yeah,
Rohirrim and all these other things going on that are in the next book, in the next episode. I mean, it does two things. It kind of gets you excited for the next book, but it also shows right in the here and now things are much more desperate than we might know. Like, because
yeah.
Frodo has this decision to make, and it's made more urgent by showing how desperate the situation actually is in the wider
Right.
world.
It sets up the impossible task.
It gives the reader this information that we haven't really had yet, like exactly how hard is this going to be for him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's pretty fucking hard.
It's like, God damn it.
It's like, what did I sign up for?
Everywhere he looked, he saw signs of war. The misty mountains were
Right.
crawling like anthills. Orcs were issuing out of 1,000 holes. Under the boughs of Mirkwood there was deadly strife of elves and men and fell beasts. The land of the Bjornings was aflame. A cloud was over Moria. Smoke rose on the borders of Lorien. Then, after seeing all these like moving armies like ants on an anthill, he looks toward Gorgoroth, the Valley of Terror, in the land of
Yeah.
Mordor. Darkness lay there. And suddenly he felt the eye. There was an eye in the dark tower that did not sleep. It leapt towards him, almost like a finger. He felt it, searching for him. Very soon it would nail him down. Know
Yeah.
just exactly where he was. Aemon Law it touched. It glanced upon Tol Brander. He threw himself from the seat, crouching, covering his head with his gray hood. So this is this amazing like moment where Sauron's like in the vicinity where like
Yeah, he could.
you feel his presence.
Yeah. Then, as a flash from some other point of power, there came to his mind another thought: take it off, fool, take it off, take it off. That is Gandalf. That's Gandalf fighting with Sauron.
That does sound like Gandalf's voice.
Yeah, that's Gandalf's like.
I never even thought of
fighting.
that. You just said that.
Yeah.
I mean, the second you said that, I made that connection. It's
Yeah.
Gandalf's voice.
But I've read that that's like Gandalf, like because Gandalf is in Lorien right there. He has the ring,
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
and
kind
that-
of thought it was like, you know how when Gollum has Smeagol and Gollum kind of contesting in his own psyche, like
Yeah.
he's divided, he's talking to himself. There's the nice Gollum or the nice Smeagol and the bad Gollum, and
yeah.
he's like, Smeagol loves the hobbits, he loves Baggins.
Right.
No, he doesn't. I'm a Gollum. Like
Right.
it's almost like a split personality or something.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that was a property of a ring bearer. Like the ring bearer starts to feel divided between himself, between his actual will,
Yeah.
and this other force that's like
Yeah.
So I thought
No.
that's what that was, but when you read it in like in the Gandalf's voice, I see that that's probably what was intended there.
Yeah, because it says in as a flash from some other point of power. It wasn't like he heard himself crying out, and then.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, because I can't remember where I read that, but it was like okay, that makes sense
interesting.
because
yeah, and I thought that was interesting. I mean, I don't know what to make of this, but the two powers strove in him for a moment, perfectly balanced between their piercing points.
Yeah,
like as if these are like needles, like two arrows, or like they have piercing points, and they're just like pitted against each other. He writhed, tormented. So it's a strange description.
Right.
suddenly he was aware of himself again. So I guess himself is not one of these two voices. It's there. Himself is like a third party. So like, yeah,
Yeah,
Gandalf, Sauron, and they're like interesting. Yeah. So
yeah.
he finally took the ring off his finger, kneeling in the clear sunlight.
Like, yeah, that was like the last second. I mean, he barely wasn't like.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, they know that the ring is in this general area because the ring wraiths are floating
Right.
around in this area. I mean,
And
you know,
yeah, yeah. The vision kind of faded, right? So
yeah,
right when he took off the ring, but he had also a little bit above had already jumped threw himself from the seat. So he's
yeah.
off the seat, he's off with the ring, and therefore the vision goes away. So again, it's a little bit ambiguous whether it's the power of the seat or the power of the ring. It's probably some kind of weird combination of both in this case, I think.
Is this the last? I mean, again, I can't remember, and like, I'm getting a little bit ahead. Is this the last time Frodo willingly put the ring on until he actually claimed it at the end of the book?
I think so. I don't think he ever did it again. Because he did
Yeah,
once in Bree, right? Oh,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and then on Weathertop.
Weathertop, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So just
this was like the last time, I
the
think.
last, I think so. Yeah, I can't think of
Yeah,
another one.
Sam put it on, but I think at this point, if Frodo would have like actually put the ring back on, it might have got really good to him. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
right.
This is where addiction, like,
Yeah,
like
it's like he needs
so,
it. That ring's not
yeah,
hitting like it used to.
yeah. I need more ring.
I
You
need
got
more
any
ring.
more?
So, and then it goes back over here to where the rest of the company are just kind of hanging out, and
Yeah,
they have this conversation, and it always struck me like they're kind of like, "Hey, where's Frodo? Oh, I'm sure he's fine."
yeah. He's okay.
That's one of the few moments in this book where I'm like, I'm not quite buying that. Like, if you have the ring bearer and they just let him wander around, they know orcs are around. Like,
Yeah,
if he were
yeah,
a ring bearer, I would say, look, you can go way over there by those trees, but don't leave our sight. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's what I would
I'd be
do.
like, you see that? Do you see that stone right like 20 feet that way?
Yeah,
Yeah,
you can go
that.
over there and have a little think, but I want
Yes.
to be able to see you because I mean I'm a helicopter parent, and
Oh yeah.
like I'd be like, I don't get out of my sight. I don't want to have to
Right.
go chase you down or look for you. But also because like he's got the ring. I feel like if this were like the Secret Service, they're
Yeah,
letting
they'd be
like
fired.
what's the Secret Service? They call the president something like number one
Oh,
or
yeah, no, no. This Aragorn did fail on this end right here.
Aragorn, dude. What were you thinking?
Yeah,
So
but you know what? Though? I mean, how else you get like it because for the sake of the story, it had to be like this.
I'm trying to
You
think of
know,
a different way that could have gone down.
I want you to keep singing so I can hear you. And no, there was no other way. There was no other way. And again, like you could chalk it up to like the ring, or go back to like the one that you highlighted, the ring, the miss. Okay, like the
Oh,
evil of the
oh,
ring is already at work, even in the company.
oh. Hey,
You know, and
maybe that was a cloudy like mess of poor decision making that the ring instilled on Aragorn momentarily.
right, right. And again, my contention is that because the ring sense that its allies were about, between the orcs
Right?
and the ring race
And
and
this
all
was
that
its
stuff.
one chance to cause some real mischief.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is like the closest. I mean, like you had the orcs of Moria, which were more akin to goblins, and the Balrog and Moria, but I don't think they were in direct contact with Sauron.
Yeah.
I think that like these are actual Mordor orcs with the ring race that
And they
would
probably
go.
have like instructions
Yeah, yeah. So
like
like the ring was probably like again maybe like clouding Aragorn's judgment and you know like just
yeah,
making every and I mean obviously it was like with Boromir they Boromir saw his chance to try to
right.
get the ring and that's kind of like the
Yeah.
stone that started the avalanche, as it were.
Mhm.
Yeah. So anyway,
So the other major scene that happened, the other major scene. Well, first of all, Boromir comes back, Where have you been, Boromir? Asked Aragorn. Have you seen Frodo? Boromir hesitated for a second. Yes and no, he answered slowly. Yes and no. He's being cheeky. Like yes, but no, as in Frodo disappeared. Is that you think that no refers to Frodo disappearing?
Yeah, like I saw him and then he put the ring on and then he left. Maybe
And
that
then
was like
no,
his way
yeah.
of kind
And
of
so that was a
yeah.
strange answer. Yeah, I found him some way up the hill. I spoke to him. I urged him to come to Minas Tirith and not to go east. I grew angry and he left me. He vanished. I have never seen such a thing happen before. Though I have heard of it in tales, he must have put the ring on. I could not find him again. I thought he would return to you. Is that all you have to say? Said Aragorn, looking hard and not too kindly at Boromir.
Yeah.
Yes, he answered, I will say no more yet. This is bad, cried Sam, jumping up. I
Yeah.
don't know what this man has been up to. Why should Mr. Frodo put the thing on? He didn't ought to
Yeah.
have. If he has, goodness knows what may have happened.
Right, right. I mean, again, Sam is probably like the smartest one of the of this. Like maybe the ring was like, I can mess with everybody's heads. Yeah, Sam, I don't need to mess with him because he's already kind of a dullard anyway. This is the ring talking. Look, and like how long how long is it since you saw Frodo last, Boromir? And then it's like half an hour. It's like you've been wandering around for half an hour. Try like,
Right.
I
What have you
mean,
been doing for half an hour? Right. I mean, this is like a critical moment and you're just
yeah,
screwing around.
yeah,
Yeah, it was totally ridiculous. But also, I mean, yeah, Sam's not dumb. He's like probably the most intuitive and the
yeah,
most
yeah,
like finger on the pulse of everyone else. Like he knows to be suspicious of Boromir. He knows something's amiss.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
And again, Sam is like the unsung hero of the Lord of the Rings,
yeah,
and this proves
absolutely.
why he is.
Right.
So
And so Pippin's like, he's been away ages now, half an hour or maybe an hour. I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. He put his hands on his head and grabbed out in grief.
yeah,
An hour since he vanished, shouted Sam. We must try and find him. And then everyone kind of goes in different directions. So it's
yeah.
total chaos.
Right, it's total chaos, but I think again, this was like the ring design or whatever by the rings design
Yeah, the rings in the
or
background going, yeah.
yeah, like I got these fools,
Yeah, these guys, they're in my power now. And then the final scene really is the Sam. So Aragorn strides ahead because he's too fast for Sam. Can't keep up. Sam's like, wait a minute. Frodo's probably gone to the boats. So he goes
Right, right,
back to the boats, and lo and behold, he sees a boat that's sailing out. Not to do a play-by-play, but I'm just setting up
yeah,
the scene where obviously everyone knows this scene. It's like Frodo's like leaving without Sam, and
yeah,
Sam's
yeah.
like, "That's so hard."
Oh,
Um,
actually, you know what? I lied.
what?
He had to put the ring back on to come back down to the boat.
That's right. It's right here, but it's still in the same kind of
Yeah, it's
vicinity.
the
But
same
yeah, he
kind
did
of
it
thing.
twice.
Yeah,
That's another weird thing. Like he had just a huge encounter with Sauron himself,
yeah.
and Sauron was about to get him with his long finger.
But do you
But
think?
he
Well,
dared to put the ring back on again just for this little
let me ask you this though.
mischief.
Maybe okay. Let's like maybe because he was on Aemon Hen and they had power there, it made everybody in the neighborhood aware. Like how else would Gandalf know that Frodo was up there? Like maybe it was like some kind of beacon or something like that. I don't know. I mean,
Okay,
because certainly the ring bearers, like the
yeah,
Elrond, Galadriel, and Gandalf,
right.
would like and then Sauron, like having the Palantir. That's the way that they've kind of pinpointed where Frodo could be.
Right, right. But what I'm saying is, if that was the case, then Frodo took an extra risk in putting the ring back on just to get the boat.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, he did. He did. He
Yeah,
did.
yeah. But I
You
guess
know.
he was committed to this idea of just leaving by himself.
Yeah, yeah. So he
And,
it was probably like the only thing he could do.
yeah, and so anyway, he was all on his way, and then Sam came splashing into the water, and Sam, I guess, can't swim, so Frodo had to rescue him,
And
gurgling,
again,
"Save me, Frodo!"
um, like again, this is like a little bit of comedy too. You know.
Yeah, this is a moment like it actually it choked me up a little bit. It's a
Yeah.
moment of like the idea that they're both kind of saving each other. Sam is saving Frodo by going with him, right?
Right. Right.
And by being a companion that ends up saving him.
Right. Right.
And then
Right.
Frodo is saving Sam from drowning here, even though the saving Sam from drowning in Frodo's mind, hey, this might risk my plan to leave.
Right. Right.
This might jeopardize the whole quest, but I'm going to save my friend from drowning. So it's just like all these really heavy things are at stake, and
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a great moment.
But what's funny is like, up you come, Sam, my lad. Now take my hand. He's like, he's drowning. He's like, I can't see your hand. It's hilarious.
Right.
You know,
I can't
it's
see her.
like,
Here it is. Don't pinch, lad. Yeah, that's a good
yeah,
one. I
like,
can't see
it's
your
like,
hand.
here's like, I can't see it. And I always thought that was funny. And like, I think it is like
Right.
a light heart. And it's not lighthearted, right? But it is like
Yeah.
a bit of comedy in the midst of all the seriousness. And I think that's what made it,
Right. Right. Well,
made it.
it's yeah, it's such a great scene, and it's heavy, it's light, it's it's like sad, and it almost makes it gets me choked up, but then it makes me laugh through my tears that
Yeah.
by seeing something like I can't see your hand, but I must go at once. It's the only way. Of course it is, said Sam, but not alone. I'm coming too. Or neither of us is going. I'll knock holes in all the boats first. Frodo
Yeah.
actually laughed. So again, there's that kind of it's a serious moment, but there's this laughter that kind of like Frodo, you could tell his will to leave by himself finally relents or breaks, and
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is where he decides, okay, well, I actually need this guy to come with me. He's my best
Yeah.
friend,
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
actually quite handy, even though he can't swim.
Right. Right. I don't know if it like the sudden warmth of gladness touched his heart, right?
Right, right.
Um, but it was like probably the relief of like, okay, this isn't this is going to be hard, but we my odds just increased of completing this, and
Speaking
you
of
know,
odds increasing, they paddled away, right? And they paddled towards the frowning cliffs of Tol Brandir.
yeah,
The roar of the great falls drew nearer. Even with such help as Sam could give, it was hard work to pass across the current at the southward end of the island and drive the boat eastward towards the far shore. So,
right,
if the implication here is that if Sam hadn't been paddling too, Frodo would have been swept over the falls of
yeah,
Roras.
it would have been like,
Roras. And I'm like,
it would
that was a that was a short
be a
quest.
quick trip,
Ah! I'm gonna
yeah,
go
but
off on my own to destroy this ring, and then it ends up at the end at
yeah.
the
What is like those things like written by Larry David or something like that, like the meme that's going around?
after
It's
something
something,
stupid happens, it says written by Larry David or something like that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's like from Curb Your
that's what have been missed.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's like all this work, and then there's this kind of like wah wah wah, or
I know. That would have sucked.
he goes over the falls.
Right.
But
If they would have
then,
gone over the falls, though, do you think that would have been like, what do you call it? Do you think, the ring race would have found the ring? I was like, "Oh, whoa, it's not moving."
right, I guess they
Or
would have found it eventually. But isn't
yeah.
that kind of ironic or fitting that after all that, the ring would be at the bottom of the Anduin?
Right, right. Like, I know, like, roll out to the sea or whatever. That would have sucked.
Maybe it would have been lost for 1,000 years, but
1,000 more years.
but the dark forces would have eventually claimed it.
Yes. So
Anyway, so
well, there it is.
well, hold on, and then just shouldering their burdens, they set off seeking a path that would bring. So they went on to the other end of the
Yeah.
lake, and shouldering their burdens, they set off seeking a path that would bring them over the gray hills of Eamon Mule and down into the land of shadow. That last line, it seems very almost prosaic or a little bit mundane, like, oh, they're just walking into the land of shadow.
Yeah.
But there was something very haunting about that last line for me for some reason when I
Yeah,
read
yeah.
this. Like Into the Land of Shadow. Ooh, what could be there? I have to read on. I'm dying to know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.